The bend tool is a combination of rotate and shear. It will move one side of an object and rotate it at the same time, causing the entire object to bend. But let's just take a look at it and see it in action. So I'm going to go over to the Create tab and choose Box. And let's just make a tall, just a tall little skinny box. And I'm going to use the arrow key, the up arrow key, to give us some segments. Otherwise our bend's not going to look that impressive. Okay, so we've got our object and we want to bend it. Now we'll go over to Modify, Bend. Now the important thing to know is that it depends on what viewport you click and drag in for the result. Now in this case, if I wanted to bend this like it was bending over, I really need to use the top view because you want to run down the axis. So if I were to click and drag, I'm left clicking and dragging, it's rotating and shearing at the same time. It's bending it in this axis. Now if I were to pick the back view, it's not as impressive. You can see up in the top window that it's not really what you would think you'd want, and same with the right. Okay, so that's the first mistake most people make when they first start using it, is they pick the wrong viewport. Okay, now you could work in the perspective window, but you can see it's kind of twisting and bending. It's the angle at which the window is placed. So if you wanted, you could try and come up here, but that's where I use the ortho windows. So now, what if we don't want to bend the entire object? We only want to bend a portion of it. Okay, well, if we go to N for numeric, we get this little pyramid shape, and the tip down here, that's 0. That means anything past that, underneath that, isn't going to bend at all. And the heavy end, that's 100%. Okay, so if we were to right click and drag that up and then bend, notice it's only bending what's within that range. Okay, if I want to change that shape, well, I've got the shape here on the numeric, and now it just basically does the exact opposite. It inverts it. So now if I try and bend everything below that, okay, so it's the exact opposite. Now you can set a fixed range here and do it numerically. So I could just use the mini slider and scrub this, okay, and I could do the same thing here. But I find it much easier if you want to reset this, just click over on the gray area and then right click and drag, and you can get what you want. Now if you don't want this, if you want to just do the automatic, it's whenever you first start clicking in the window, it's going to tell it that axis to use, and then it's going to just take the entire length of this object. So it'll automatically get the entire length of the object. Okay, so why would you want to limit it? Let's use a real-world example of why you would want to limit this range for bend. Well, I'm just going to load up this little gecko character, and say I want to curve the tail, but I don't want to affect the rest of the body. Well, what I can do is right-click and drag to set my fall off. Okay, and what I'm going to do is stop it at the base of the tail so that I don't have to affect this at all. And then I'm just going to bend this to the side a little bit, and see, I was able to affect the area that was what was in that range, and now I'm set. So that's just a quick look at the bend tool. The key thing to remember is you want to work in the right viewport. That's what throws most people off. So as long as you remember that, and as long as you remember that you can set a range to work with, whether you do it interactively with the right mouse button or hit N for numeric and set it up right here, then you're good to go.